Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris and Mark back on a Monday night asking the same question we ask every Monday night. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on, Mark. What a great weekend it's been for Newcastle United. Not only did we batter Spurs, which we'll talk about in a minute, but Mike Ashley has got no chance in court and Manchester United are still crap. What a weekend it's been, mate. What's going on with you?
It's been an odd weekend. Just before I get started, can I just ask, was that intro ridiculously loud for everybody else, or was it just me? Because it started and my eardrums nearly blew up. So can you just drop a message in the chat and just let us know if that was just me or if it was for everybody as well? Because I did it differently this week and I seem to have turned the volume up slightly. So yes, please.
Well, you seem to have blasted people's eardrums off, yeah. So that's a bit. That's not the best way, but hopefully everyone hasn't jumped out and went like that, and then just come back in and picked out the rest of their eardrum. But yes, let us know in the comments, guys. We are live tonight, as always. You know what to do with what's going on. You join in the crack. We include you in the show. We always do that. It really helps everything flow. But just before we do, a little reminder: if you're new, check us out for the first time. We have had quite a lot of new subscribers recently, thanks to my maybe slightly disappointed video on Match of the Day, which I'm sure a few of you, of course, we've had a very good reaction to that. So welcome on board, all you new subscribers. Smash that button if you haven't already. Recommend us to family and friends. We're over 7,200 subs now, closing on 7,300 actually, which is amazing. So yeah, thank you very much. Welcome on board, new subscribers. There'll be plenty more rants coming, I'm sure, especially if the mainstream media don't get their finger out their arse and start giving teams credit for playing well this weekend. It ain't just Newcastle, it's Crystal Palace, it's Bournemouth as well, and West Ham and Fulham. So you know what? Shove it up your ass and do your job properly, mainstream media. We don't care. We're not getting invited on. We're too old. I haven't got enough hair and I wear socks with my shoes. So they're not inviting me on the fucking TV. So I don't give a rat's ass. So that's my thought process on that, mate. So we're going to get stuck right in then, Mark. The first topic, there's only one place to start, really. And as the Spurs fans were singing, it's happened again. The poor bastards. I must admit, Spurs fans, we've got a few in the comments. And I'll tell you what, they've taken that beating quite well, you know, in terms of football fans that haven't kicked off. They've held their hands up. They've admitted they've been completely battered. And quite funnily, Ange Postecoglou was asked, did you watch the 6-1 Moreland last season? He went, no, mate. Maybe you should have watched it, Mark. Don't you think? You might have got an idea how to defend if you had.
I mean, it was sort of the... I'm good to say complete performance, but I'm on that sort of line with it because Newcastle they approach the game completely differently. We'll touch on, obviously, everybody's been talking about the tactical side of things, and Eddie got it completely spot on. We all looked at the team sheet pre-game and went, not sure about that one. But in reality, it completely worked. It was a brilliant bit of tactical nous from Eddie to really combat what Spurs do, and they didn't have an answer to it. And the question keeps going with Postecoglou. If it doesn't work for him, he doesn't have another option. And I know that's something that's been labelled at Eddie Howe at times, but when you watch Spurs, they have one way of playing. If that doesn't work, they're shit out of luck.
Well, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I mean, the Spurs fans were very, very critical of Ange. I think certainly the fact that he played a line so high, it wouldn't have looked out of place in Wall Street in the 80s up some stockbroker's beak, I think, to be honest with you, mate. It was that much of a high line. Some brilliant reactions, especially from expressions. The use of the Oscar Pistorius line for the defenders was particularly chef's kiss, I must admit. He's a very entertaining individual. But yeah, going back to the game plan, as you rightly say, Mark, I know you've got some super duper slides to kind of look into it really in a bit more detail. But I think I said in the post-match video as well, the main difference really for Newcastle United in this game is I think we did watch the 6-1 before we came out. And I think Eddie Howe showed them the 6-1. And he said, this is what you can do if you go at that team and you really get in their face in the first 20 minutes. We talked about the front three last week on What's Going On, said they have to start games, we'll have to take control of games. And those three, the notorious BIG, as Craig Hope called them, that's a war flags waiting to happen, that, by the way. But those three in particular were sensational, mate. I think you got some images there just to talk about how good they were.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of imagery that I got was, it didn't really touch on the front three, to be honest with you, because, they were incredible, those front three. And actually, I've left off the stat that I saw earlier on that I sent through to you, so I've completely slipped at that point. But at the start, I mean, Barnes, Gordon, and Isak were absolutely brilliant. They were so well drilled in what they were doing high up the field, and they played into those holes that Spurs defenders left. Getting in behind and in the gaps that Udogie leaves and that Pedro Porro leaves, and getting in between the centre backs and running in beyond them. Because as much, I mean, the absolute, what did you refer to as the bit of the wank fest over Mickey van der Ven pre-game about
yeah, Slippy van der Ven.
As you say in Bowles, there isn't anybody that's ever been quicker in the Premier League. Well, he got torched a couple of times at the weekend, and the one in particular the goal when he sort of gets running behind where Bruno plays the ball over the top is a phenomenal piece of play from Bruno. The ball was just brilliant, but those front three all game just they had the defenders on toast. They didn't know what to do with them. They couldn't cope with those three, and then the fourth and fifth coming in to join, because as I'll kind of come to, the work rate of Elliot Anderson, and I give him special praise for Saturday, because he was just simply brilliant. And it was from minute one from Elliot Anderson. He was asked to play in this weird sort of hybrid midfield wing back role that I don't think we've ever sort of seen before, but he was asked to just get back and get forward. And I mean, he's at one end, then the other end. He's tying down, the easy ball for Vicario here to stop them being able to play out. And this is something that Spurs wanted to do. You can see the front three ready to pounce, but Anderson was always there. But like I say, seconds later, this was beforehand, but again, it happened seconds later. You see Elliot Anderson back in position, back ready to defend, and to switch off what Spurs, had. The game plan was just brilliant. I think Eddie had the plan for keeping Heung-min Son quiet. I thought he had an awful game. He just kept really, really quiet. They surrounded him. They attacked him from all sides, which just kept him really quiet. There's pieces of the game where you look at it and you can see Shah and Burns sort of one side pressing from each side, and then one of the midfielders coming to almost surround him in a circle, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't know where to pass the ball. He was left pretty isolated. They couldn't get the ball to him as much as they wanted to. They certainly couldn't get him in behind the defenders. In bar one or two moments in the first half, Spurs had absolutely nothing, and it's all down to the performance of the defence and the midfield and keeping that completely shut off. And like I say, the tactical nous of Eddie Howe on this occasion to really pin down what makes Spurs tick and block it off.
Absolutely. Just getting through the comments there, Tim saying he didn't feel like a game where we had a lot less possession. We were more incisive and probably should have been more than 4 in terms of the victory. I agree with Tim there. I think that for me, I actually think Spurs were a bit complacent against us. I think that they felt they were a much better side. I think they thought Maddison could get on the ball, make things happen. They thought Son would find pockets of space. I think they totally underestimated the tactics that Eddie was going to put in place. I mean, we did as well as Newcastle fans, to be fair. We looked at it and thought, Jesus Christ, that's got no chance. But as you rightly say, Elliot Anderson's ability to drop in, Murphy's ability to drop in and then become part of that midfield going forward. But the front three, the pace, the intensity, the guile, the skill levels that they have. I mean, Harvey Barnes has kind of gone under the radar a lot in this game. I thought Harvey Barnes was brilliant. I thought his running, his positional sense, just that general cut above, as we've said before, above a Miggy Almiron. He's more of a threat. He's more dangerous. When he's on the ball, you could see Spurs actively worrying about him, like, oh shit, like what's he going to do? You could see the fullbacks getting a bit panicky. And I think if Miggy had been playing, I think Porro would have probably just pushed him out to the other side, let him run down the corner flag like a dog chasing a ball at the beach, as he always does. Whereas with Barnes, he can cut inside, he can cut outside, he can do loads of different things with it. And I think we're starting to see Barnes really come back to that player that we thought was signed in the summer. He's had a terrible season with injury, but he's shown his quality mark in that front three. But with Isak in particular, I know we'll get onto Isak in a second, but with Isak in particular, Isak's one of them strikers where he maybe needs 3 or 4 games to get that absolute sharpness back that he has, that speed, and that I always say horn centre back's dreams. And I think at the weekend I started a new WhatsApp group, wasn't it? I've been skinned by Alexander Isak, centre halves in the Premier League unite. But he takes about 3 or 4 games, and when he's at full tilt, like he was at the weekend, his ability to move the ball from either foot, drop a shoulder in an instant, and do even the quickest defenders in the league is unbelievable. These Arsenal fans, jumping on X going, oh, we'll give you 70 million for him. What for his fucking right leg? No chance. The guy's doubled his price. I mean, we'll talk about him in more detail in a minute, Mark, but when you've got a centre forward who's as dangerous as that, it brings the rest of the team alive, doesn't it? It really gives you confidence you can get something out of a game.
It really does. And like I said, I don't jump ahead. We'll not jump ahead too quick because we are going to have a look at a little bit more detail at him. But yeah, I mean, he almost sets the tone, doesn't he, up front, because his willingness to, I mean, he occupies so many players. He's so good. He's absolutely so good that he occupies so many. He allows the likes of Barnes from the left and Gordon from the right to get more space, because defenders won't just leave him one-on-one. They're terrified of it. He's so quick with his feet. He can move the ball so quickly and be away in a flash. He's got that initial burst to get away from anybody. And you're right. I mean, 70 million. And I know TalkSport was it Gabby and the other
Jamie O'Hara? Jamie O'Hara trying to wind people up. And
I know they were just on a wind up, but you've seen other fans going, well, we'll take him for 70 million. You're not going to get him for 70. You're not going to get him for anywhere close to that. He's not going to go anywhere. No. It's just that's a complete and utter fantasy for them. But to kind of, before we get to that stage, the other player I wanted to kind of just highlight, and he's come in for some stick recently, and it's Sean Longstaff, because I thought he was brilliant on Saturday. He didn't get on the ball a lot at all. He wasn't involved in the build-up play. He wasn't involved in any side of that. But what he did well was he focused on, where is James Maddison? What can I do to block off passing lanes? What can I do to get in the way of where Spurs' more threatening players want to be? And I just thought he amongst many were really, really good. And you can see the clip, if you go back and watch the game, this is about 5 or 7 minutes in, and he's constantly on the look. You can, I've probably shaded him a bit too much here, but you can see him looking for Maddison. But for about 20 seconds here, every time he moves, he checks. He's constantly on the look. Where's he gone? Where can I stop this going? And there's another one as well, and I think this was the lead up to the goal as well. And this was what he did really well. He hassled, he harried, he moved around the pitch really, really well. But he just got in the way. And
like a disruptor, wasn't he? That's what he did. Yeah. That was his job. Yeah.
And he did the press really well. He was just he was like a wasp, really. I would say that he didn't put in an awful lot of tackles. The ones that he did, he generally, he won the ball. I think he won most of his duels. But he was just. I thought he was just really, really good in the job that he was asked to do. And he wasn't asked to get on the ball. I think he only had about 22 touches of the ball. I think he only passed the ball 13 times. But the job that he did was absolutely brilliant. And I know we've given him stick over recent weeks, but I just thought he was really, really good.
He was. And I think we talked about this post-match as well. I think one of the factors that made him be so good was the fact that Elliot Anderson was just everywhere. If you look at the heat map for Elliot Anderson on SofaScore, he's literally played every position bar goalkeeper. I think he's just everywhere. And I think when you have a player who's just bang at it and full of energy like that, it almost takes a lot of pressure away from Sean. I think because people we've maybe come to expect maybe a bit more from Sean in terms of his limitations as a player. But I think when he's got energy in that midfield, it's like when Joe Willock's at full tilt. I think Longstaff looks better because Joe Willock can get that ball progressively and take it 25 yards up the pitch. So Sean might do a tackle, pass it to Joe Willock, and then he goes one of them mazy runs, and it looks really good. Whereas of late, Sean's been maybe making a tackle, passing the ball, somebody's out of position, somebody's coming intercepted it, and everyone goes, "Oh, fucking hell, Sean!" And he gets the kind of shit for it. Really, I mean, let's not forget he is playing with this injury as well, and I think that has prohibited his kind of mobility over the last few weeks. And maybe they're just getting a little bit more treatment into his ankle. But I just felt the whole shape of the team was incredible at the weekend, and we've got to give somebody else credit here, Mark, and he's coming to stick this season. That's the manager, Eddie Howe. I mean, he has had stick, and quite rightly as well. He's had stick where stick's been warranted, I think, in terms of his stubbornness and inability to change teams. But I think at the weekend he absolutely 100% got this right. He completely outcoached Ange in every possible way. He looked at all the weaknesses of the Spurs team. He set his team up to stop Spurs being decisive, to finding those pockets of space. They had loads of the ball. They did lovely little pretty passes back and forth and everything else, but it didn't do anything, didn't go anywhere because he set his team up so well. That back three was a masterstroke. And just for you, terrific. When somebody else played a back three, well, it didn't go as well as obviously Eddie Howe's back three. But because the midfield was able to step in, under Steve Bruce, we had Maxi, and Maxi wasn't stepping in and defending. He was up the other end of the pitch, waiting to skin somebody. And I think credit has to go to this manager. These players are playing for this manager, and he showed at the weekend that even throughout all those injuries, he's got an ability to get a tune out of that team, and a tune that should sound a lot better than a guitar with 4 broken strings, which is basically what he's managing with effectively. And it was incredible reaffirmation about how good Eddie Howe is as a manager. I think sometimes we forget what this guy has done since he's walked in the door here. He's took this team that was utterly shit and heading for relegation under the Baron of Bacon, and he turned it into a Champions League team. And even this season to be 6th with all those injuries is credit to what he's done, to be fair. Just before we move on, Mark, we've got a fantastic super chat there from Antagonized Geordie 20, Nick. I thank you so much, mate. Man. Beer on me, lads. Top man. We'll go to the social club, mate. It lasts for fucking ages in there. We really appreciate that, mate. It's very nice, very generous of you. But yeah, I mean, I was buzzing for Eddie because I think for Eddie, the frustrations have been there this season. And I mean, we don't see what goes on the training pitch. We don't see, him and Tyndall having those conversations about, Lewis Hall's a great example. We've been screaming for Lewis Hall for weeks and months. Maybe he wasn't ready, Mark. Maybe he wasn't ready, and he didn't want to put Lewis Hall in that position. Side note, Lewis Hall now is officially a Newcastle player because we can't finish any lower than 15th, which is what was in his contract, which was this magical mystery, kind of pre-qualification. But I thought Lewis Hall looked all right when he come on as well, Mark, to be fair, towards the end of the game. He did all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody gets praised. It doesn't matter. At the weekend, that nobody had a poor. There was one moment in the first half, Dubravka nearly let everything go. But
fucking hell, yeah, I remember that.
But look, he recovered. It didn't cost. And look, you hope that if a goalkeeper makes a mistake like that it doesn't punish you. But yeah, everybody gets credit. It was good to see Tino back on the field again, and that's one less player that's missing. You're starting to see players come back in, but everybody did it. The last thing I wanted to go through was just when I touched about just blocking off the sort of passing lanes and stuff before, and it was exactly this. This was basically Newcastle's base, and it was that
great shape
again, dropping in and covering off absolutely every angle. The white arrow is obviously the only pass available here that really is going to move the ball progressively. The ball 2 yards forward here is just not. every player is in a position to be able to block off something and be able to press down. And it was the same. That was in the middle of the first half. This was again in the second half. And again, you just see those players. They know exactly the position to be in, to just not allow anything to progress. And I just thought they were absolutely brilliant. And then you come to the likes of Bruno, and I just thought he again took another step, and it just showed again this lack of, I guess, the lack of aggression that he's shown over the last 11 games, or was it 19 games or something? It is now that he's gone on, and this whole meeting that he had with Eddie, where he said he wasn't going to get booked, and Eddie's interview at the weekend said, well, I didn't believe him. I don't think anybody believed him, because he's got that in him. But I thought he was brilliant again. That those balls forward, especially that one over the top, to instinctively see Isak move, and that tackle from Sean to win the ball, to get the ball to Bruno, and instinctively know exactly what Isak's doing. There's almost telepathy there in that regard, because there was no hesitation in it. It was just gone, and Isak was away, and it was a brilliant run. It was a brilliant finish, and it kind of just epitomised that entire that one move, the pressure from Sean to win the ball back, the brilliance of Bruno to play the ball over the top, and then just the ridiculously classy finish from Isak. It just summed up the afternoon.
I mean, old Slippy Van de Ven, though. I mean, one thing you do not do is let Alexander Isak go in his own half and happy on the spin. I don't care how fucking quick you are, mate. He could have had a segue and he wasn't catching Alex in that foot race. Especially, it was the one touch and finish. It's Henry-esque, man. It really is. His antagonizers saying that the confidence is back, the strong finish to the season. I think we're in the driving seat. I really do for the European positions. We've got a comment there from Felks one. See you in the morning, Mark. It is Ryan. Fire. Cracking. That must be a mate of yours, mate. I think it is. Is that you or is that somebody else? I don't know who that is. You've got him thinking now, mate. You got him thinking now. You just know who that is. Ryan? Do you know a Ryan, mate? Or is that somebody else?
And I know several. That's
several Ryans. Several Ryans. So,
sorry.
Mark,
I apologize sincerely. Might not be me.
Yeah, it might not be you. There's a lot of Marks in the comments, I'm sure. But Ryan, let us know who you are. Share your identity, because Mark's baffled. It is late on at night, and he is getting old now, so his mind isn't what it used to be. But just speaking about something else from the game, the performance was unbelievable, and there was something else that happened in the game. Mainstream media maybe don't want to cover it, but we sure as shit do. And it was this fantastic moment where everybody who was watching the game, everybody who knows, you saw my Match of the Day rant video. There was a brilliant initiative from SELA and the RNID to have the orderly impaired, deaf fans had a special shirt on with sensors in there so they could feel the atmosphere, and the camera was trained on I believe that's is it Sue and Cameron, isn't it? I think it is the young boy's called. I think he is. Yeah, right. Is it Cameron or Kieran? Might be Kieran. We'll just double check that for me.
I'd be shocking. I can't remember.
Check that on Twitter while I'm waffling. But I know Sue's the mum. So in the game, obviously the camera was fixated on him, and you could see him just the way he was buzzing off the atmosphere, literally and physically, clearly, because the shirt was working. So the way he was just reacting to it. I mean, the TNT Sports give it such great coverage, and massive credit to them. We've criticized them before, for some of the stuff that they've done, but they were absolutely brilliant. They almost missed a second goal. They were too busy focusing on the young lad in the crowd. But it was just an amazing story. I was really proud of Newcastle SELA, as well for doing something like that. It was really groundbreaking, really, and it was something that should be more in football. I hope the other clubs get on board with that and realise how important it is to include fans of all shapes and sizes into your match day experience. And that was a brilliant thing to look at, which is why it really pissed me off when Match of the Day didn't even get any kind of airtime whatsoever. I know they've got a finite window to talk about games, but it was absolutely shocking. There was no discussion about it at all. And somebody like Gary Lineker, who's normally a champion for various different causes, and he's never scared to say something that sometimes gets him in trouble from his employers. I was very disappointed at the fact that Gary Lineker didn't do anything about it or say anything about it. But I thought it was absolutely brilliant mark in there. One of my favorite bits of the game was actually just before the goal went in. I think we were messaging each other about how shit the referee was. And I think you'd said to me, as this ref lost his cards, and when it flashed to the camera, it was actually the mum signing to the to the lad, like, yellow card. I could see her doing this with her hand. And it was absolutely brilliant. They're having a full-on conversation about how this ref isn't booking anybody. And it was just brilliant, man. Absolutely brilliant, wasn't it?
It was, and look, I think it's such a good thing. It's such a good way to bring those fans in and let them enjoy the atmosphere that everybody else does as well. And you're absolutely right. The weird thing with Match of the Day is that they do champion these community things that other teams do and that the FA do and things like that. And it was so weird to see them pay absolutely no attention to what was going on. It baffled me that they just didn't make any reference. TNT did it brilliantly. I genuinely thought they covered it really, really well. The whole thing, obviously, with Dan Burn and that pre-game and Trippier too. I thought they did brilliantly with it. But the way that I mean, and it comes down to just the poor way that Match of the Day covered it. And I know you had your rant on it. And I just thought, when you've watched a game like that and you know exactly what, how well Newcastle have played, and yes, Spurs were poor, but they were poor because Newcastle made them poor.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've not covered that is shocking. They did the same to Bournemouth, like you said. They were better yesterday. Funnily enough, who was on the panel on Match of the Day yesterday? Alan Shearer and Shay Given, who championed the teams that weren't expected to win. It's funny that from the two on the Saturday, but I just thought it was really poor of them to not cover it. It's such a good thing that the club have done alongside SELA and the RNID, and I just thought it was a wonderful, and that picture was just phenomenal. I mean, that just captures what football should mean to everybody, and the fact that somebody's then allowed to experience that atmosphere, possibly for the very first time, is just incredible.
It was absolutely incredible. I mean, talking about how bad Match of the Day were, they tweeted this out earlier. If anyone hadn't seen this, anyone who's listening on the audio, so they said, "Was a yellow card the correct decision for James Maddison here when he booted Jacob Murphy in the back?" I mean, yes, it was a correct decision, 100%. He's lucky not to have a red card because he shoulder charged Gordon about 10 minutes before that, and he should have had a yellow for that. But again, I know he's an ex-Leicester player, which obviously Lineker has a real affinity to. But I just felt that they spent more time just talking about what Spurs did wrong, one and Castle did right, as you rightly say, mate. But to miss that was an absolute shocker. I mean, it was a real groundbreaking moment. But I tell you, somebody who didn't miss that and didn't miss the game, we're now attracting celebrity fans, Mark, if you didn't realize already, because we're a huge club. We're going places. The fucking Wheelstone Rangers even come and joined the Toon Army. He's had enough. He's got now fans, now grand, and he's come and joined the fucking Toon Army, mate. I was shocked to see that bloke there. It was mental. There's actually a video going around of Sean Longstaff and Dummett in a boozer, I think, doing a video for a fan, and they're quoting the Wheelstone Rangers' famous line, which I often say to one of the lads at work. So very strange, mate. But hey, why not?
Yeah, that one completely threw me. It really did. I didn't expect that to see at all. You're right. The Sean Longstaff video is quite funny as well. If you haven't seen it, it's knocking around on social media. But yeah, definitely that's an odd one. It's starting to see people on the bandwagon maybe a little bit.
Yeah, well, it was quite funny because I was talking to one of the lads at work about it, and he was saying, "What the hell was he doing there? Wheelstone were playing," and I said, "It's very possibly, he's maybe coming to do them really shit nightclub nights out where they just get some random Z-list celebrity to I don't know, fire T-shirts into the crowd or some shit where everybody's mortal. There might have been that possibly the Wheelstone Ranger, but half the people probably didn't know who the fuck he was in the boozer, but yeah, so." We'll have to see what transpires with that one. I'm sure there'll be pictures of him in the town, mate, if he is in the town. But you're right, talking about Bruno, just quickly on this one before we move on, Alexander Isak. So Bruno is now free of his yellow cards. which was a tightrope he's been walking for a long time, as you touched upon before. It showed real discipline from Bruno Guimarães in terms of his his ability to avoid a yellow card for so long. But he wouldn't be Bruno unless the minute the game finished, he decided to go up and wind up Lo Celso. And probably would have got himself a yellow card had the game had still been playing, and decided to go 4-0 in his face. Now, there's some real needle between Argentina and Brazil, mate, because there was a tackle from Romero earlier on, but Jesus wept. I mean, I've just got horrible visions of the Crystal Palace game as somebody's getting like speared from the WWE or choke slammed or something in the first 2 minutes of that game, because he's got like 11 weeks of pent up aggression, I think, right, to get out of his system.
Yeah, I wonder what the odds are in the first 5 minutes getting a booking. But look, he's done incredibly well to keep himself out of trouble. And you saw the panic in his face when it was a foul sort of midway through the second half, and you saw him just spin round and look at the referee, thinking, "Oh shit, I've gone and done it." But he got away with it. It wouldn't have been a booking. It would have been horrendous if he got that one. But I think he's learned a way of playing without that complete aggression. It's taken him a few weeks, but he's just been, the last few, he's been brilliant, and he certainly is now starting to look the part again. He's had those weeks where he looked off the pace. He didn't look quite right. He wondered whether his head was a little bit elsewhere, but he's certainly come good, and over the last few weeks, especially trying to get away with it, with not getting booked. You've got to give him a huge amount of credit for getting through that period.
Absolutely. If anyone hadn't seen his wonderful piece of shithousery, there it is in full effect to wind up Lo Celso. So you can almost see Dan Burn in the background going, "Oh, how where Bruno, man," because you can just see that face. It's that face where your mates had one too many, and he's just winding somebody up, and you're thinking, "Oh, for God's sake, man, what is he doing?" But it was hilarious, almost to the moment of the full time whistle. He decided to just wind him up, but he's got that in his makeup, hasn't he, Bruno? He's one of them players who just plays on the edge, and I think if you take that away from him, you take away a large part of his game, really. But I just feel that you're right, mate. He's showed a different side, maybe more of a maturity in terms of his ability to do it. And now he can do it. Hopefully, he can kind of pull back that aggression a little bit. As Tim says there, hold your house on Bruno Yellow versus Palace. I think that's the same. Certainly a better bet than my Grand National selection, Tim. I had Mr. Incredible and he fell over on the second fucking fence, I think it was. But bet responsibly if you are betting. But yeah, it's great to see Bruno get past, and Gordon as well, get past that milestone. So now we're okay. It doesn't really matter because both of those players play a little bit on the edge. They get stuck in. They're flying the tackles. So I think that they probably have been pulling back a little bit. So the fact that it's gone now is really good for me, that we're able to see some more tackles. Jack says there, watch him get a red against Palace. Oh, Jack, don't do it to me, mate. Don't do it to me. I really hope he doesn't.
When you say sort of pulling out the tackle, no, not pulling out of tackles, but just being more careful. If you didn't watch a game yesterday with the Arsenal game where Ben White pulls out of the tackle, I think it was with John McGinn. It was like a 50-50 and he completely bottles it. It was ridiculous. So we've had none of that.
Ben White bottled it, did he? Was it Ben White that bottled it, was it?
It was Ben White, yeah.
He's probably worried about his fake tan running, probably, mate. That's probably what it was, or ruining his hair or something.
He was rather quickly taken off afterwards, funnily enough. I think he was worried about a second yellow card, but I mean, there's no way it would have been a second yellow, but it was funny to watch. Especially when he's been high profile with not wanting to play for England as well. To see him completely bottle something like that was hilarious. But we've had none of that from the two Newcastle players, and they've pretty much, keeping their levels up, and they've been careful, but they've not bottled anything, certainly. But yeah, really, really good to see, because what you don't want is them running that tightrope for weeks and weeks more. They've got a little bit more freedom now to just go and express themselves properly.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of expressing yourself properly, we've got a super chat from RG Fox, £10, cracking show, lads. Very good insights there last weekend. I'm shafted on the German beer. Take it easy. Our Oot from Ashington. Good lad. Well, thank you very much for that, mate. You'll be able to buy a plenty of German beer with that £10, mate. Get yourself down to Aldi or other supermarkets that sell cheap beer. But thank you so much for that, mate. We really appreciate that. But moving on to the next category then, Mark. I mean, this is something we could talk about all day, to be fair. And it's the elite Isak. So just to kick this off, I think we've probably got some images and stuff to go through. But if anyone didn't realize already, and it's quite funny, I love it when a player like Alexander Isak does what we know he can do, and people just almost jump in their kind of social media time machine and pull up tweets from 2022, and people are going, I can't believe it. Only Newcastle would be the team to buy a player like him. He can't even get in a mid-table side. He's shite. He's this, he's that. And they just keep retweeting them. I mean, I admire that dedication for it, but Alexander Isak is elite. There's no doubt about that. You know, a couple of weeks ago, Roy Keane basically said Haaland had the touch of a League Two player, despite the fact that he's an unbelievable goal scorer. But Alexander Isak has got the lot, to quote the old classic soccer AM. He's got the touch, he's got the pace, he's got the ability to beat a man. You know, he can score with both feet, he can score with his head, he can take penalties. I mean, I haven't seen him take free kicks yet because Trippier's took the ball, but he can probably do that. But he's breaking records left, right, and centre, Mark. He's creeping up on Erling Haaland in the Golden Boot. And in my opinion, I actually think he's running Erling Haaland really close for the best centre forward in the Premier League. Arguably, you could say he's a better all-around footballer than Erling Haaland is for certain. Maybe not as good of a goal scorer, but I mean, how good is this bloke, and how good could he be, Mark? He's, what is he, 23 or something like that, 24? I mean, the sky's the limit for this kid,
man. Yeah, there's no argument about it. He is a better footballer. I would argue that Alexander Isak is the best striker in the league. He may not be the best goal scorer yet, but he is definitely the best striker. He's the most dangerous. He really is. He can do. Maybe he's not as good in the air as others, but he's got skill. He's got pace. He can use both feet. Just go back to the Everton game and Michael Keane still spinning round. But his goal scoring record is brilliant. This is obviously from Sky. 104 minutes per goal. It's the best in the league. Chris Wood is a bit of an anomaly in this one.
That is mental, by the way. That is mental. Really is.
Funny enough, there was a rumor knocking around the other day that Chris Wood is going to get sold again this summer to try and help out with Forest's financial fair play issues. But that's a story for a different podcast.
To Real Madrid to play with Hosselu.
Can you imagine? But Isak is just sensational. He is. There's a reason why the big six are now sort of sniffing around. There's a reason why that's going to happen, and he's got that run of form now. He's got that run of games. I think he's played 90 minutes in the last 6. I want to say it might be. I'm just going to quickly double check what I am. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so he's played the last 6 league games, and he's played the full 90 minutes in them. And in those 6 games, he's now scored 6 goals. He's on form. I don't think there's anybody better in the league. Haaland may score you 40 goals in a season, but you have to look at the cast that's around him. Isak's hitting 20. And he's played a partial season because of injury. He's playing with a squad that's been absolutely decimated by injuries. He's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Chris having some
kind of bug here, some kind of moth attacking me, attacking the light there. Yeah, it's obviously a Spurs moth.
But yeah, I mean, elite is probably not enough. I mean, you can sort of go a little bit hyperbolic with it. He's world class. There's no doubt about that. There you go. Thanks, Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus is there.
Right on time.
No, exactly. I mean, listen, Zlatan Ibrahimovic said that this guy was the real deal. And he doesn't dish out praise very often, does Zlatan. I mean, Isak moving to 17 goals. He's already, I think, matched Zlatan's goal record in the Premier League. He wasn't here long, Zlatan, but he was brilliant when he was here. But I just think with Isak, I mean, listen, Callum Wilson's been brilliant for Newcastle since he signed. His goal record is brilliant. But Callum's, past 30 now. You look at Alexander Isak, and I bet you in training, I bet you when Callum Wilson looked at him, he probably thought, holy shit, like, look how good he is. Remember the goals against Liverpool, the 2 goals he scored on his debut, because the other one shouldn't have been disallowed. Yeah. He sits Van Dijk down, the guy that everyone thinks could defend the world from a fucking meteor attack. He sits him down like he's a pub team player in his first game. And that was the first sign that this kid is something special. And if he can keep fit and stay fit, because that seems to be the challenge, if he can keep him fit. Now, there's been links to us going after Benjamin Sesko in the summer. I think that's a really good idea, because you can rotate your strikers and we can keep Alex fit for longer, because I think the problem is it's too much game time from him, and the way he plays with that burst of speed and everything, I think he just burns himself out. So I think having another striker you can interchange him with for games would be brilliant. But we definitely left that short as a squad scenario this season. But for the fact he's missed so many games, Mark, again, Brian, you're right. He's deadly. He's absolutely deadly. The fact he's missed so many games, to be as clinical as he's been in the games that he's played, I mean, every single club around Europe will be looking, going, how did we miss out on him? And never mind this bullshit Jose Enrique was running, about how he was injured for Sociedad. As you rightly pointed him out on X, Mark, he was injured 5 times in 3 years.
He always had his worries about him because of his injury record at Sociedad, where he missed 5 games in 3 seasons. Yeah, there's unbelievably poor injury record there, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. What a tit! I mean, the very fact that this guy only wants to be a Newcastle legend when someone's giving him a job to talk about Newcastle, he spends half of his time saying he's a Liverpool legend. But yeah, Isak for me, I agree with everything that's been said. You've got to build a team around him. You have to build a team around him. People are talking about us selling our top players to reinvest. We've done a video earlier on today about maybe some players who've emerged this season that could save us a fortune in the transfer market. So make sure you check out for that. It should be out this week. But we are not selling players like Alexander Isak and Bruno Guimarães. They're the players we're building this team around. If this team wants to go somewhere and do something, those 2 players are vital, Mark, aren't they? They're integral to what this club is going to be moving forward in the next few years.
Yeah, completely. I think Eddie was saying the weekend, wasn't it? Those are players that you have to build the future around, and look, there was an argument.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at George. He's coming about the off. He did. He had little arms as well, George. He had little arms as well. Landed on the microphone.
If anybody hasn't seen the goal that Cole Palmer gets his hat trick with tonight, just watch Jordan Pickford monumentally fuck it up, and end up with Cole Palmer scoring his hat trick goal from 40 yards. That made my night. But yeah, going back to it, yeah, the players you've got to build around. And I was going to say there was an argument on Saturday, and I know it was kind of tongue in cheek from some people, going the gap to 4th and 5th suddenly was only 10 points. And obviously the Villa result aside yesterday beating Arsenal, but Spurs have got a ridiculously difficult run in. They still have to play Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City. They've got Burnley and Sheffield United, I think, is the other 2. But there's a very real possibility that they could only win 2 of their remaining games. And they may struggle with that because the other 2 are still fighting for their lives. So, I mean, there's still with the run of games that Newcastle have left as well, that goes to prove to these players that there's still the potential for them to be there or thereabouts in that 5th position. Is that potential still Champions League? Can you imagine that after the season that this has been, to only be to even make it or only be a point or 2 away from having made the Champions League again? But it's just, and this goes in and amongst the group that's then grown, that continues to grow, the changes that will come, the investment that's been going on around the club. It's just shown these players stay. this is what's going to happen. It's getting better. We're going to bring more in. We're going to improve the squad. And if we can get 5th or 6th this year, what the hell's it going to be like when you've got another stretch where you maybe don't have as many injuries, or when there are injuries, you've got replacements for these players, and the likes of Tonali coming back. I mean, the future is ridiculously bright.
Yeah, well, once we don't have Dr. Nick from The Simpsons in the physio room, I think we'll be all right next season. But yeah, I left that comment up there because Felks1 is loving you tonight, Mark. He's made his day. So what a top lad. What a top lad. Lovely comment there, mate. And as Marcus says, remember, hit the like button, guys. Thank you very much. Yes, smash that like button. But yeah, moving on to the next section, mate. You're talking about new players, and new players next season. Now, what will the new players be wearing next season? Now, there you go. So there has been some rumours doing the rounds. Great video earlier on, it must be said, from the lads at Gallagher Shots. If you haven't checked it out already, someone, maybe Mark's banged a link in the description, or we'll bang a link in the description.
I haven't, but I will do.
He hasn't, but he will do. But yeah, so the lads from Gallagher Shots were putting together a good few different designs, but they are 95% on the money that they think this is going to be the home shirt for next season, and it's got Alexander Isak number on there as well. But to me, I'm buzzing for that, Mark. I think that's really good. Do you know how the basic thing for me is black socks, man? I hate white socks. I fucking hate white socks in a Newcastle kit. Give me the black socks all day long. That kit looks fucking superb to me, and I can't wait to see that shirt out there for sale. Not in Sports Direct, mind you. Evening, Mike. How are you, you fat bastard? But yeah, I think that's an awesome shirt, mate. What do you think about that?
I really like that. That's nice, and it's clean, isn't it? There's no
really good throwback as well. Throwback to
it is, but there's no pretend to be something that it isn't. There's no ridiculously cleverness about it. It is classic. It's proper black and white stripes. You're right, black socks, which I just think I completely agree with you. It looks so much better. And it looks a whole lot better with an Adidas logo on than a stupid Castore one,
mate. Absolutely class. Yeah, George has been made of black socks. They never get dirty. The longer you wear them, the stronger they get. Sometimes I think I'll wash them, but someone says to me, "Don't wash them yet." But see, for me, growing up, Newcastle wore black socks, didn't I? Don't like the white socks. The white socks only when we played Man United. That's the only time I remember. But yeah, Felix is saying it's a league winning strip. Absolutely, mate. Ian is saying, wait till they do the retro range. Can't wait. I think that's where they're going with that. That's one, Ian. They're going for the retro. I think the Gallagher Shots lads, check their video out. It was absolutely class. And they had loads of retro looks on there as well. There are 3 strips, and they all look fucking amazing. Yeah, David's face is saying about would look lush in that strip. I bet you would, mate. I bet you would. We'll try and get that sorted there. Comment there from Paul Mitchelson saying, what we are witnessing here is a good manager transition to a brilliant manager. Happy days ahead. Well said, Paul. I mean, we do forget with Eddie that he is a young manager. He's going to make mistakes. I mean, his main job was Bournemouth before. I mean, and what he did with them was incredible. Do you know what I mean? He transformed them completely from, like a fucking Ted Lasso team to Premier League regulars. You know what I mean? And he did an amazing job. And he's still such a young manager, and he's learning every single day. I mean, he went away after that, and when you listen to him talk, he's so impressive in terms of what he did, in terms of extending his football knowledge. Everybody said he couldn't set up a defense. Well, he can set up a defense now, and he can score goals. I think even this season he's learned, Mark, probably as well. In terms of some of the mistakes that he's made, he's maybe learned a lot more, and I hope he has. And I think it'll make him a better manager next season. And fucking hell, if we finish Europa League positions or higher this season, man, I mean, that's incredible achievement from Eddie Howe.
It is. Look, I know if you go back a few weeks, there were question marks, and I agree. I was watching or listening to Craig Hope's post-match. It was mowing the lawn, and I was listening to his post-match on Sunday morning, and he was talking about the noise about Eddie Howe was mostly online. It was mostly from social media, and that's true to an extent. Obviously, fan channels and stuff that you get the comments about, and we question marked him because I think at the time that I think that there are a number of times this season that he's made mistakes, and you come back to he's still learning. He's got to learn quickly at this level, but he's definitely shown and I kept saying that there's no way that I would be saying that he should go. I think that at the very least he got enough credit in the bank to have even, if things the wheels had come off this season, that he still gets the summer, he still gets the start of next season. I think there's no question of that anymore. He's shown again a willingness to be able to, or somewhat of a willingness to adapt things now, and he's seen possibly by by what's happened with players that have been available to him, but he's definitely looked at that game on Saturday and gone, I need to change things up. I need to do something differently. Tactically, we need to approach this differently. And he is still going through that learning motion. We all go back to when he took time out of the game to go and learn from elsewhere. And I think sometimes it just takes a long time to sort of put what learning you've got from doing that into practice, because the scenarios that you come across aren't going to be day to day. So he suddenly sees a scenario where he's maybe picked that up from elsewhere and gone, right, this I can implement this. I know enough about this to be able to put this into practice and get the players working on it. He's had time between games to be able to get players on the training field, which is somewhat of a problem that he had at the start of the season with the European
especially
games.
with Champions League was there as well. Yeah,
exactly.
There's too much football going
on. But he's got a really small group at the moment as well. And I sometimes think that possibly helps him a little bit better as well. And I just think, he's done such a good job. And yes, we've been critical of him. And I think at times rightly so, because, and I still go back to games like the Everton game, the PSG game, where he didn't make any substitutions or made them so late, it was ridiculous. I think those are things that he has to still get to grips with, that in-game management. But he's just, he's done such a good job, and to have this team in sixth with all the problems that have gone on, he should get an awful lot of credit.
No, definitely, and rightly so, mate. He rightly so deserves it. Well, just before we move on to our last section of the night, which is Out of Toon, as all you guys know, there is one more thing to talk about, and it's to give congratulations for a Newcastle United title-winning side, and it's a massive congratulations to the lasses who just managed to scrape by Mark at the weekend with a 10-0 victory.
It's close, wasn't
it? It was really close, yeah. Just to obviously seal the championship and get promoted as well. I mean, they've done a phenomenal job there. Amanda Staveley was very emotional at the end, whilst also swigging champagne. Massive respect to Amanda there for cutting loose with the girls. But I mean, that's been sensational, because all the bad noise around our owners, all the talk about misogyny and everything else, the development and the evolution of the women's team has been something that Amanda Staveley set out from day one. Yeah. And they've spent so much time with that team. They've developed it. They've brought in new players, and to have that success in a relatively short period of time, Mark, is absolutely fantastic for for Becky and the lasses as well, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's his second promotion on the spin there into the championship, one step away now from the Super League. Look, there's more money that will go into that side, but they've done a remarkable job. Cup final this season as well. But yeah, I mean, they've taken this league by storm, and just massive congratulations to them, because it is a phenomenal job coming from somewhere that was completely neglected before. The club as a whole didn't want to know, so it's really good to see for them.
Absolutely, no, massive congratulations to them. I'm sure they're just going to go from strength to strength on that one as well. But we're here at the last section, Out of Toon, where we talk about non-Newcastle related things. There's been loads going on as well, and I just want to start off on a bit of a somber note, really, mate. I hate seeing people disappointed, and you know how much I love the Liverpool manager. I've never shied away from my love and respect for Jurgen Klopp, but his farewell quadruple tour has really turned into a bit of an egg and spoon race, isn't it? And this was the poor bastard at the weekend when Crystal Palace, the Eagles, flew over and took a big shit on their head as well, which made us all smile on social media, especially some of the Liverpool fan media people absolutely wetting their pants online, and it's a thing of beauty, Mark. I saw a tweet saying, if you're happy with Jurgen Klopp's kind of failure, then you're sick. Well, do you know what? Fucking send me to the RVI, mate, because I am a sick man. I am loving the fact that this fucker was crashing and burning. Turkey teeth twat that he is, mate. Loving it.
Yeah, funny if I was talking about this with somebody today, and it's funny, isn't it? Pre eye contact lens and pre teeth. I actually loved Jurgen Klopp. I thought he was brilliant.
I thought you were going to say pre-Glastonbury. I don't know where you were going with that one.
No,
that's okay.
But he's become this miserable git, and it's. I think the announcement of him leaving and everybody. This whole farewell tour that he was going on. You know, they were going to win the league. They were going to win the Europa League. They were going to win both cups, and they won the Carabao Cup, and then got beaten by Manchester United, and then they got absolutely annihilated by Atalanta last week, and then beaten by Palace, which it doesn't. As many as kind of said, "Oh, that's the league over." It's not quite, but you can kind of see the problem that now Arsenal and Liverpool have in trying to overturn the win.
That's a question, Kev. That's
Sophie's
like almost asking somebody. It's asking somebody if they want to be kicked in the bollocks or punched in the throat. It's a real difficult choice, really, mate. To be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure yet.
I'll take the throat, thank you.
Yeah, the throat. Yeah. Flashback. Felks won. Arteta. Yeah, absolutely. Marcus says turkey teeth. George says Klopp. We've got a comment there from El Capo saying, looks like he needs a quadruple bypass. Yeah, he was certainly having a bad time of it, but he wasn't the only one having a bad time of it the weekend. Manchester United dropped points. I mean, to be fair, they should have lost that game. Let's be honest with you. They should have lost that game 3-2. They got back in it with a very ropey handball and then a penalty that was turned into a free kick. But that wasn't the big story. So the big story was yet again, old Eric Ballbag seems to have fell out with another player. And this was mental. This was Garnacho. So Garnacho got hooked because he was playing shit, really, to be fair, but they're all playing shit, especially Marcus Rashford, 300 grand a week and does nothing. So Garnacho decided to like Goldbridge's tweet. United, Goldbridge's tweet. Basically slagged off Ten Hag for taking them off, which was hilarious, as well as an Instagram image of him with an emoji with a zip over the mouth. Now, apparently, Garnacho has now been punished for his kind of dissent, really, mate. And how many more players is Ten Hag going to fall out with at Man United before he gets loafed, mate? Jesus Christ!
Are we seeing the problem at Manchester United this season?
Is it the players or is it the manager?
There's a common denominator with an awful lot of it, and it seems to be Erik Ten Hag. And he just, there's so many that have supported him to kind of through thick and thin, but he showed he just can't cut it at that club. Whether it's the fact that it's Manchester United with a ghost of Ferguson still hanging around. Well, not the ghost of Ferguson. He is actually still hanging around.
He's still alive, Mark. He's still alive. I know he's getting on a bit, mate, but he's still alive.
Sorry. Christ almighty, if that news comes through tomorrow, I may have to go and hide.
You'd be like the Aaron Ramsey of podcasters, you, mate, if that was the case.
But he's let so many. And I think what the part of the problem, he's not willing to, and a lot of the Manchester United fans said this at the weekend. He's so unwilling to have a go at the bigger players. He's so unwilling to have a go at Fernandes or Maguire or
Rashford.
Pick on the young ones. And Garnacho was poor, but what is he, 19?
He's been their best player this season. He's been their best player
by a country mile. And he's going to have up and down, but he's going to have problems. And he made a mistake at the weekend, but you don't drag him off at half-time and then slag him off. Yes, substitute him if you think that's the right thing to do. That is your job. You have to do things like that. But you then can't come out and just completely single out one player for the fact that your team's utterly shit.
He's. I don't think he'll be there next season personally, but I think you can't keep falling out with these players that he likes a Real Madrid. They're sniffing around Garnacho, and he's giving him a carte blanche to walk away. But I tell you, one manager who's not having any problems, mate, whatsoever, and it's possibly the coolest man in football as well. It's this fella, Xabi Alonso. So everybody will know Xabi Alonso. Unbelievable achievement at the weekend. The first time in the 120-year history that Bayer Leverkusen have won the Bundesliga. Cry now, Harry Kane. Cry now, son. Not only have you not won the league, you've also got an Arsenal logo style trophy for being top goal scorer. But he has been unbelievable since he went there. We pulled this from Football Joe on social media. He joined in October 2022. They were 17th in the Bundesliga. I think he got him qualified for the Europa Cup kind of in his first season, Europa League. And now in April 2024, less than 2 years on, he's won the Bundesliga. Not only that, Mark, he's done it unbeaten in the season as well. I mean, he was a brilliant player, but Jesus Christ, this guy looks like a phenomenal manager, man. What an achievement.
He's done all right, isn't he?
And he's not going to Liverpool either.
No, definitely not. And it appears that the rumours about Liverpool's new manager seem to have been false as well. But no, he's going nowhere. He's come out and said he's not going to go anywhere. And I just think he's built such a good side, and he's got some incredible players in that squad. And yes, he's inherited a few, and he's done a really really good job with an awful lot of them. But as well, there are players that he's sold on out of that squad. He's made money out of them. He's been able to bring in others. And let's not forget, they're a title-winning side that have Granit Xhaka in them in the team as well. And he's been phenomenal for them. They picked up Alex Grimaldo on a free transfer, who I think we said last season Newcastle should have been all over that one in terms of a left full-back, wing-back. He's a phenomenal player.
Frimpong and all was about, what was he, 300 grand or something daft like that they got him for?
Frimpong was peanuts. But you go through that side and there's just so much quality in that. And there's no reason why he can't keep an awful lot of that squad together and do it again and then go, deeper into the Champions League, because they've got, maybe he's a more productive centre forward, or somebody that's going to score more goals. That their top scorer in the league this season has 11, but they've just spread the goals right through the side, and he's just done such a good job. He really has.
I don't think he will be the next Liverpool manager, Marcus. I tell you what, I think will happen with Alonso. I tell you what, I think will happen with him. I think he'll have another season at Leverkusen, and then I think Ancelotti will fuck off from Real Madrid after next season, and then Alonso will get the Madrid job. That's what I think will happen. But especially if he does wonders with Leverkusen again. But it's great to see a young manager, have a go. I mean, you see the clips of him training. He still looks like he could play. He's that fit and he's that good. You know what I mean? You just think, my God, he's still a mid player, but what
he's still walking half the Premier League sides, that's for sure.
I'd take him at Newcastle. He's absolutely sensational. But speaking of brilliant players, Lionel Messi was back amongst the goals at the weekend. An absolute raker from 35 yards for Inter Miami. But that's not what caught the attention. So if people don't know already, Lionel Messi has this bodyguard that's been provided to him from Inter Milan, I think it is. And he seems to be a little bit like, remember one of the Dudley boys in the WWE where he just comes charging onto the pitch to do people in. Now, this was Messi, I think just a fan, as you can see in the jeans there, kind of ran on just to give Messi a cuddle, which happens quite often because Messi's a lovely fella. This guy ran at him and fucking rugby tackled him to the ground before the guy even had a chance to say, I love you, Leo. And do you know what? I'm not for this, to be honest with you. I understand you got to protect the guy's security in that, but what the fuck is going on here? How can this big fat bald bastard run onto the pitch like that in the middle of a game and do something like that? Sort it out, Beckham. What the fuck is that about, man?
I get the will to have the player protected and stuff, but he can't just run onto the field while play still. And this is one of the, play was still going on. That hadn't been blown up yet. I mean, the referee in that image is just about to blow his whistle because of it. He's just burnt onto the field, and I tell you what, he covered some ground pretty quickly. He didn't have to move sharp.
What are the Mitchell says, Kev?
It just does just does seem ridiculous. And we've seen this loads, especially recent ones where it's been kids that have run on, kids that have gone on to kind of get either a selfie, or I think Ronaldo's had a few of those where kids have run on with their phones to try and get a selfie with them and stuff in the middle of games. I mean, how that can't happen, but it just, I don't know where I sit with that, because it just, you can't have somebody running onto the field in the middle of that's not, I guess if you cast them as a steward at that point, because they're going to stop the pitch encroachment. But it was just a weird one to see, where there's just this fella just launches out of the technical area to run across.
George is wondering if Ross Kemp can account for his whereabouts. I thought he was doing a quiz show last I saw, mate. But I'm not for it. I think it's a load of shit. And if Messi's, if they're worried about Messi's safety that much, then don't play him. Don't play him. You kind of have a security guard run on the pitch with me. It's absolute nonsense. If that happened in the Premier League, I'd be absolutely fucking livid at it. But speaking of Cristiano Ronaldo and the Saudi Arabian League, I mean, maybe they need some more security, because we saw the craziest, most batshit thing you've ever seen in your life in the Saudi League, and this was the imagery. So this is one of the Saudi teams. Is that the one that Benzema plays for, Mark? I think it is. Is it Al Ittihad or something?
Ittihad, I think it was.
Ittihad, yeah. So this fan obviously took umbrage to the fact, I think they got beaten. They weren't very good. One of the players come off. He then decided to whip him. That's right, whip him with, I think, which was either a whip or his belt. And I mean, it's quite mad. I mean, I was quite disappointed the player didn't grab it like Indiana Jones and pull him off the top of the fucking stadium and start kicking the shit out of him on the floor or something. But I mean, you cannot have fans whipping fucking players, man. What's that about?
One of the most bonkers things we've seen this season. It defies description, doesn't it? Because what the fuck the hell's going on with that? And they've put out sort of statements saying, that the league's investigating more, and they don't want to see this happen. Too fucking right, you don't want to see this sort of shit happen. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's mental. I mean, it brings a new meaning to the word "on the lash" at the match, doesn't it? Really, you know what I mean? Like that's a bit too much for me, mate. I've got to be said. But we're going to finish Out of Toon on an absolute belter as well. So speaking of on the lash, this popped up on social media, and if you haven't seen it already, go look at it, because it's one of the best things I've ever seen. A lot of us. Me and Mark are married. We've had stag do's. A lot of you in the comments have had stag do's, and everyone likes to dress up for a stag do. And if you haven't seen already, this stag do was running around Leeds dressed up as a cat. Now you might think, well, what does that mean, Chris? But all of his mates happened to be dressed in full Kurt Zuma kit, chasing him down the street. And somebody else put a video later on of them kicking him outside one of the boozers in Leeds, and it was absolutely world class. So massive credit to the best man or whoever's come up with that concept, because that is absolute gold banter. Hang that in the banter Louvre, mate. That was superb, that.
Absolutely. I mean, I was crying with laughter when I saw it. The other funny part of the videos that came from that was somebody it was them stood outside the Cats Protection League, sort of chanting outside it.
That's amazing.
Honestly, the genius of that. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. That's the wit of a football fan, isn't it? And you just can't beat it. I just thought it was brilliant. Absolutely loved it.
That is superb. But you just come in at the right time, G, because that's the funny thing we've talked about tonight. But go back and watch us from the start, mate, because we've covered loads of stuff there. So we've nearly done an hour and 20 minutes there. But we're all done tonight, guys. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat. It always helps this episode flow. We love having a bit crappy in the comments. We don't ignore comments like some other people do. We always like to bring them up and get you guys involved. That's what makes this show brilliant on the Monday night. We really enjoy it. So thank you very much for being so involved tonight as well. As I mentioned at the start, if you haven't already, smash that subscribe. Come and help us get to that 7,300 mark, which is the next milestone. We're only 10 away, mind you. So refers to family and friends. 9 away. He's got up as well. Yeah. So you have to change your little counter in the corner, maybe. We're only 9 away now. So yeah, recommend us to family and friends. We'll be back for the Crystal Palace preview, and then obviously the post-match next week. But there will be a couple more videos coming this week. Certainly one about the transfer market, about some of the young players as well, maybe filling the void and helping us, beat the FFP monkey on my back. So make sure you check it out, guys. That should be out in a couple of days. Maybe some more rumor has it's coming too. But thank you so much. Smash that like button, as Dean has said very eloquently there in the comments. Like the video, help the channel grow. Have a belter night, everybody. We'll catch you in the next Evermore. See you later.
Take care, guys. See ya.